Hello and welcome everyone. This is a special breaking news transmission because something big is happening in South Asia. Both Afghanistan and Pakistan have launched their own military offenses as cross-border attacks between the two nations continue. Pakistan's defense minister has called it an open war, and both sides are reporting heavy casualties with sharply different figures as the situation along one of the world's most volatile borders continues to go from bad to worse. Before we go to our guests, let's take a quick look at some of the international reactions coming in so far. India's foreign minister has condemned Pakistan's airstrikes, pointing to the fact that they took place during Ramadan. Meanwhile, Iran, which neighbors both countries, is also facing its own potential threat of war from the US, has called for a dialogue between the two. Russia has offered to mediate talks if both sides agree to discussions. And one of Pakistan's closest allies, China, has expressed deep concern of the escalation while also extending its constructive support to de-escalate tensions. In fact, listen in to what the Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson had to say on this ongoing escalation between Afghanistan and Pakistan.
China has been mediating the conflict between Pakistan and Afghanistan through its own channels and is willing to continue to play a constructive role in easing tensions and improving relations between the two countries. The Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Chinese embassies in Pakistan and Afghanistan are working with relevant parties in both countries on this matter, and China has requested that both countries ensure the safety of Chinese personnel, projects and institutions in Pakistan and Afghanistan.
To help us understand how two neighbors arrive at this moment and where it goes from here, we are joined by Omar Samad. He is the former Afghan ambassador to Canada and France. He has also served as former spokesperson of Afghanistan's Ministry of Foreign Affairs. But more crucially, he's a veteran of the Afghan-US-Pakistan Tripartite Security Commission, the very body created to manage exactly this kind of cross-border crisis. This is the kind of edge South Era Network viewers get when they join us. Ambassador Samad, thank you so much for joining us here at South Era Network. My first question to you is, the Defense Minister of Pakistan said this morning that Afghanistan has been turned into, and I'm quoting directly, a colony of India. Pakistan has now bombed Kabul itself. How did the two neighbors who shared a ceasefire just 4 months ago arrive at open war today?
Well, it's very unfortunate. Of course, Pakistan's defense minister is known for making such blatant remarks and statements. But rhetoric aside, what is important is to know that this is a situation, a crisis that need not have escalated. We need to now use wisdom and cool heads in order to de-escalate. I think to start some kind of a dialogue if possible. But first and foremost, we need to stop the provocations, we need to stop the tit for tat, and we need to stop the blame games that are going on. We can look at the history, the backdrop to what has happened, what caused this, why we are where we are. And it goes back to the 1940s, but also it goes back to just a few weeks ago and a few months ago. The situation obviously is worrisome, but I think that this is the time for diplomacy and not the rhetoric that we are hearing from certain quarters.
You're right. The timing of it couldn't have been worse, considering what's really happening in the neighborhood, what's happening in Iran. Now, you served on the Afghan-US-Pakistan Tripartite Security Commission, the body, as I said, built specifically to manage cross-border crises like this one. Pakistan says the Tehreek-e-Taliban, the TTP, is operating freely from Afghan soil. Afghanistan denies it. Who's telling the truth?
Well, in order for us to figure out who's telling the truth, we need fact-finding evidence and missions that can look at what is happening on the ground inside Afghanistan, along the Durand Line, and inside Pakistan. If you look at the history of TTP, it was an outfit that was created about maybe 13, 14 years ago in Pakistan as a result of several factions, extremist factions that came together, but they had grievances against the Pakistani state. And they emulated sort of the Taliban system and they obviously have close ties and had close ties with the Taliban of Afghanistan. But over time, obviously, they have created their own brand and their own motivation for warfare and insurgency. There are an insurgent group within Pakistan. Their families, some of whom have been forced out of Pakistan, live in Afghanistan. They have been taken away from the border regions. And I think that what we need is an impartial investigation of what is happening in order to get to the truth, because either side, whatever claims they have, cannot be proven unless we actually have diplomats, military people, security people on the ground, maybe even the United Nations, maybe even a mediating partner like Qatar or Turkey or others, coming and looking at the evidence that exists about these claims and counterclaims by both sides.
And on that point, I just like to take you back to what happened in Qatar. The Qatar ceasefire was held just 4 months ago. Istanbul talks in November collapsed. Turkey's foreign minister is on the phone today, right now, with Islamabad, Kabul, Doha, and Riyadh simultaneously. Is there any diplomatic off-ramp left? And who has the leverage to actually force both sides to take it?
Well, these countries, including Qatar, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and others, were involved in mediation for the past year or so. They obviously were not able to go very far. A ceasefire was proclaimed at one point. The ceasefire has been violated recently by Pakistan, who claims that TTP is doing this. And they came and attacked Afghan soil and killed civilians. So the history is sort of known. The facts have to be brought to the light. But I think that, yes, diplomacy is the only avenue. I think that any of these countries who are impartial and who have goodwill can step up and play a role. Can the United Nations do something? Maybe to some extent it can. But what is also needed is political will in Islamabad, Rawalpindi, as well as in Kabul, Kandahar. So I think that what we need to do is diffuse the situation, de-escalate what is the military aspect, and we need to take the diplomatic path forward. But it is going to be difficult right now as emotions are high and tensions are obviously not where they used to be. And I think that it's going to take a bit of time, but the sooner, the better.
Ambassador Samad, you're talking about diffusing, de-escalation, but you're rightly also pointing out that the kind of commentary that we are hearing is keeping the tempers high. And why only Afghanistan and Pakistan? Look what's happening with India as well. Pakistan is now calling Afghanistan a colony of India. India is condemning this and saying that for this to happen during the period of Ramadan is unfortunate. Where does India come into the picture?
Well, India has always been in the picture because of its own bilateral relations with Pakistan. And Pakistan obviously looks at Afghanistan through a prism that includes India. And India obviously at times also looks at the situation from a prism that includes Pakistan. So what we need to do is understand that Afghanistan, whether under Taliban or other regimes, obviously is a country that cannot be and should not be used as a proxy battlefield, that it has never worked actually. And if it has served any purpose, it has been very temporary and short-lived. I think that what we need to do is detach Afghanistan from any other rivalries, and that India and Pakistan hopefully can find their own path toward a dialogue on issues that divide them. But in the case of today, what the defense minister of Pakistan said, not only is it absurd, but it's obviously provocative. And I'm glad that New Delhi took a stand, and of course Kabul as well. Everybody knows Afghanistan's history. Afghanistan was one of the first countries that fought against colonialism, and one of the first countries that was able to somewhat free itself from colonialism fully in the early parts of the 20th century. So the Afghans are known for trying to fight for their sovereignty and their independence.
Diffuse, detach, de-escalate. The 3 Ds being suggested by Ambassador Omar. Thank you so much for helping us make sense of that story. That's it from us on this special breaking news edition. We'll be back with you with a special program at 16 GMT. I promise you don't want to miss out on that one. So do join us. We'll see you there. Thank you so much for watching.